I have some interesting things coming up today. Because every day is interesting. But so we're on Samech Vav Amud Beis. About a third of the way down. The last word on the line, which is what we're up to, is the word boy. You got this? You have the spot already?
Yeah.
Let's start?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So we said a question. Boy mine Rabbi Yaakov bar Ada Rav. Rabbi Yaakov bar Ada asked the following question from Rav. Bala katana miurasa l'reimeir mahu. So we mentioned yesterday that according to the Mishnah, which is the opinion of Reimeir, that if someone has relation, that the prohibition of the punishment for namarasa, for committing adultery with a girl who's halfway married, is only between the ages of 12 and 12 and a half. Question is, what happens if she's less than 12? So we say she's not in the category of namarasa. Mentioned she's not in the category of namarasa. Namarasa, the halfway married girl gets, both she and the man get skila, get stoned. Regular adultery, both partners get chenek, strangulation. So the question is, if someone commits adultery with a girl who's less than 12, but otherwise meets all the other conditions of being a namarasa, then does the woman for sure is exempt because she's not bas mitzvah yet. The man, do we say that he's exempt from skila, from stoning, but he still gets the standard punishment of strangulation? Do you say no, he's off the hook entirely? Once the Torah said that she's off the hook, she'll be off the hook in this case, they're off the hook. That's the question. Does it entirely exclude her and say no, she's totally exempt if she's not 12 yet? Oh, miskila mamaila, does it just exclude him from, or that case from stoning? Amrle, he said to Mistaber, it's logical, skila ma'ile, that it's only from skila, from the death penalty by stoning that she's excluded, but he'll still get the standard death penalty for strangulation, for adultery, which is strangulation. It says Vaksi, but the verse says, Umesu gam shneim, they should both die. What does it mean they both die? Achu shneim shavim. In this case, it's in the case of stoning, it says you should execute them both. Meaning only when they're both in the category of, you only execute them when they're both in the same category. In this case, that she's in a different category than he is, he can't execute you. Shasik Rav. Rav is quiet. He didn't have an answer to this. Amar Shmuel. Shmuel said, my time is Shasik Rav. Why was Rav quiet? Name Elay, why isn't the answer? There's another verse that says, Umeisa Isha. So what's wrong with saying that here as well? He says, actually, this question is a machlokas tanaim. The verse says, "Umesu gam shneim," they should both die. Achu shneim shavim. They're only killed, and the two of them are in the same category. Different Rabbi Yoshaya. That's what Rabbi Yoshaya says. Rabbi Yonasan says, "Umesu isha shechavim alavado." The man who's with her would die by himself. You see that even if only one of them is. Now we have to see what does each one do with the other verse. For Idach, the other one. According to the second opinion that says they both die, that he dies even if she's not punished. What does he do with the verse that says they should both die? Meaning only punish them when they can both get killed. Rava says, to exclude maisi chidudim. Maisi chidudim are some kind of embracing that is not the full penetration. There's no death penalty on that, even though that's would normally be called cheating in a sense, but it's not actually relations. Then it would not be saying, unless there's involvement from both parties. If he's involved but she's not because of the how things are working, then neither of them is executed. It has to be something that involves both of them. The other one says, the other one that already used the verse says they both die. Don Avel teaches that. It says, that this action, embracing, is not anything. We don't need a verse to tell us that is exempt. Now the other opinion, Hai Levado, my Darish the one that says they have to both die, so that they don't. That's opinion does not learn out from Levado alone. So what does he learn out from alone? My Darish Ketani says, like he says in the Brisa, Baula Asar Bnei Adam. If there's an army rasa and she has relations with 10 men, Vadani Basula, and she's still a virgin. How is that possible? So if 10 men sodomize her, then but she could still be technically a virgin. Rabbi Kulam Skila, they all get the punishment of skila, of stoning, for being with an engaged, halfway married 12-year-old girl who is a virgin. She's still a virgin. They all get stoning. Rabbi says, Harishon, the first one, biskila gets skila, v'kula mechanic, the rest of them get strangulation. That even though it's sodomizing would make her no longer a virgin, and therefore only the first one gets skila. And basically it seems that Rebbe learns that out from Levado. That they see that only one gets it. Rebbe says even if she's still a virgin, but nevertheless, only one person can get the death penalty. In this, the skila in this case, that's what we learn out from Levado. Tanaban, the rabbis taught, Bas Ish Kohen, the daughter of a Kohen gets a different punishment, gets burning. When she begins to stray from, when she what's a good translation for zinus? The verb of straying, but it's straying in adultery. Right? It doesn't necessarily mean adultery, but profane. When she begins to profane herself. Rabbi says, Tchila, the beginning. The Omer, and similar it says, the man who sleeps with her will be killed by himself. Now this is pretty ambiguous. I'll say it again. So the verse says, when she begins to profane, Rabbi says this means beginning. And similar it says, the man who's with her will die by himself. So the Gemara says, my comment, what does this mean? This is not clear at all. Amar Rav Huna Bereder Rabbi Yeshua, Rav Huna, the son of Rabbi Yeshua, says, Rabbi Yehudah Nasi, Rabbi is saying this Brayse, Rabbi Yishmael Sirla, he holds like Rabbi Yishmael. Gamu says, Arusa Yatzal Sefer Lo Nesua. That Rabbi Yishmael, as we'll see later on, there are three opinions of this case of a Bas Kohen, daughter of a Kohen who gets burned. There are three opinions exactly what that's talking about. One opinion says that's talking about only if she's fully married, but if she's halfway married and she's between 12 and 12 and a half, then she gets the regular penalty of stoning like a regular non-Bas Kohen. Another opinion says whether she's halfway married or fully married, she gets the special punishment for daughter of a Kohen of burning. Rabbi Yishmael says only if she's halfway married. If she's full married, then she gets the punishment of chenek. So saying Rabbi Yehudah Nasi, Rabbi holds like Rabbi Yishmael, is only when she's halfway married. That's the only case she gets burned. This is what it's saying. Im techilas bia biznus. If her first relationship is through illicit relation, is through adultery, b'shreifa. That's when she gets burned. V'idach, in any other case, b'chenek. Any other case is strangulation. If so, my v'chein, what does it mean v'chein? What's the connection to this other verse that says the man who is with her alone dies? Ki hasam, just like we find in that case. Ma hasam, just like over there, but techilas bia, the mishnah, the verse of time, when it says he's dying, that's the case when it's her first relationship. Hachanami, so to here, techilas bia kamishtai kra. The verse is talking about the first time she's had relations. And that's the connection here. That's why we're quoting this other person. Pasuk. Amalei Rabbi Bar Abaye. Rabbi says to Abaye, Mar lohachi Amar. The master did not say it like that. Uman, who's the master? Rav Yosef. Rav Yosef didn't explain it like that. How did it explain it? Rabbi Karei Meir. Rabbi holds like Rabbi Meir. Tamnasua. So nisi ta'achan psulin. That if the woman is married to a man that she's forbidden to marry, then she gets a punishment of strangulation. Meaning, if you have a daughter of a Kohen who's halfway married, or somewhat married, and she commits adultery, then she gets burned, not strangled. But if she's married to someone she's not allowed to be married to, even though the first time she has relations is adultery, but since she married her own father, she married her father, it's not called marriage. If she marries her brother, kedushin is effective on not a sister, on a. I'm trying to remember which cases kedushin actually works. Ones that don't get kares. I'm trying to remember which ones, but there's certain of the relationships that there's no punishment of kares. So if she's married to someone that she's not allowed to be married to, I can't think who that is off the top of my head, but then she's already done something wrong just by getting married, in which case that she doesn't get the punishment of sreifa. She's already started off on the wrong foot, and she doesn't get sreifa.
Isn't the grandfather one of those?
Grandfather is rabbinic, yeah. Grandfather's rabbinic. So it works because it's rabbinic. I'm trying to think what's a Torah case of a relative. And there are other things that are there, like marrying a mamzer, right? You can't marry a mamzer. So that is kedushin is effective on a mamzer, a Moavi, a man who's from Moab. There are a few examples I don't know if it's any of the relatives, but there's definitely examples of from relationships where the marriage takes effect. This is the way to read it. Im techilas achalta, if the beginning of her profaning herself is biznus, was with adultery, v'shreifa, then she gets burnt. The idach, and otherwise b'chana, she gets strangulation. Umay v'chein, and what is this similar? Siman the ba'alma, it's just a sign. It's not literally parallel. Just like in that case, it starts off in a certain way. So too, it starts off in a certain way, but the way that they're not exactly parallel. Because this one means the first time she's had relations, and this one means it's the first time that she's profaned herself. Not exactly the same, but it's at least somewhat enough parallel that we can make a connection and say each one is only when it's when the beginning of their straying. Just in different, we'll define straying differently in these two cases. Okay, the Mishnah on Samach Zayin. A maces, what is a maces? Zeh hedyot. This is a regular person. But maces is a hedyot who is convincing a regular person to do idolatry. Amar, what does he say? He says, Yesh yira b'makom ploni. There is a certain matter, thing which is feared, meaning a certain power that's worthy of fearing in a certain place. Kach ocheles, it is ability to eat. Kach shosa, the ability to drink. Kach metiev, it will bestow good on people. Kach meria, it can hurt people. That's what he said. Now we have a general principle. Kol chayavim misos shebetorah. Anyone who's liable to death sentence in the Torah, certainly even for lesser offenses, ein rachmin aleim. We do not ambush them. As we'll see shortly what exactly that means. Chutz mizu, except in this case. So Amar Shnaim, if this one said to two people, come do idolatry, hein of, they are his witnesses. They bring the basin and they execute and they stone him. Very simple. What if he only said to one person? He says, you know what? I have other friends who might be interested. Why don't you come talk to them? Why he's wanting to do that? Because that way he talks to two people, they can execute him. Normally we don't set people up. I mean, this is all part of that. Normally we don't set people up. Someone breaks Shabbos, said, okay, come do that again in front of my friend. No, we don't do that. We don't encourage someone who's done a sin to do it again. In this case, okay, come say this to two people, that way we can execute. You don't say that part, obviously. Im haya arum, if he's crafty, then he doesn't want to talk in front of multiple people. He wants to talk privately. So you set him up. You say, okay, let's talk later. And you don't talk to other, you'll talk later. You set up witnesses behind the fence. So he says to this person, okay, we're all alone now. Say it again. And the guy says to him, he says, let's do idolatry. He says to him, how can we leave our God in heaven? And go and go serve wood and stone. He said, you're right, forget the whole thing. That's great. If he says, this is what is obligatory on us. It'll be good for us to worship idols. The people who are behind the fence, so the basin, they bring him to basin, and they stone him. Now the next category, Mediach, where he says, I'm going to serve it. Eilech v'avod, I'll go and I'll serve it. Neilech v'avod, let's go and let's serve it. Zabeach, I'm going to slaughter. Eilech v'zabeach, I will go and slaughter. Neilech v'zabeach, let's go and slaughter. Achtir, I will smoke a fire, I will burn sacrifices to it. Eilech v'achtir, I'll go and I'll burn sacrifices. Neilech v'nachtir, let's go and burn sacrifices. Anaseach, I will offer a libation. Eilech v'naseach, I will go and offer a libation. Neilech v'naseach, let's go and offer a libation. Nishtachave, I will bow, I'll prostrate. Eilech v'nishtachave, I'll go and prostrate. Neilech v'nishtachave, let's go and prostrate. Then all these cases, they are liable to a death sentence. That's what it would be. This is still Macy's. That's all in the category of Macy's. Those are various different things he could say. Since any of these things, he is liable to death sentence. And the Gemara says, "Macy's zehedyot." The Mishnah said Macy's is zehedyot. Time and the reason that he gets the punishment of stoning, the hedyot is a regular person. Hanavi, but if it would have been a prophet who prophesies that you should do idolatry, then bechenek, it would be chenek, it would be strangulation. Similarly, the Macy's hedyot, the Brisa says someone who tries to get a regular person to do idolatry. Taima diyachid, because it's one person. Harabim, but if you tried to get multiple people to do idolatry, Bechenek, he would get also strangulation. Masnisin mani, who must be teaching me? Rabbi Shimon. Titania, because it says, as it says in the Brisa, Navi Shidiach, a prophet who tries to get someone to do idolatry, Veskila, he gets stoned. Shimon says, Bechenek, he gets strangulation. Similarly, if in a debate, Manicha in the people who tried to get who succeeded in getting the majority of a city to do idolatry, it's called Ir Anidachas. So the people who got the city to do idolatry, Veskila, they get stoning. Rabbi Shimon says, no, they get strangulation. So our Mishnah seems to fit Rabbi Shimon on both counts. Now, let's look at the end of the Mishnah. What is Hamediyah? This is someone who says, let's go and serve Avodah Zarah, Avodah Kachavim. Rabbi Yehudah Amarav, what is this talking about? Rabbi Yehudah Amarav says, Shanu is talking about someone who tries to get the city to do idolatry. It says in plural. Why does the Mishnah go in plural? Because we're talking about the people who got the city to do idolatry, and he lists them in this mission as being part of Skila. So the end of the mission is not Rabbi Shimon. Usually the beginning of the mission is Rabbi Shimon. The end of the mission is clearly not Rabbi Shimon. In the exact same case, say someone gets multiple people to do idolatry, that is Skila, not Chenek. That is included in the mission, even though the beginning of the mission sounds not like it. That's the rabbis. Rabbi Shimon would say Rabbanan. The beginning of the mission is Rabbi Shimon, and the end is Rabbanan. So Ravina says, no, Kula Rabbanan. The whole Mishnah is the rabbis. Rabbanan, it's rabbis. Velozu Azu Kitani. It's using a style of not this and not only this, but even that. So you're right, the beginning of the Mishnah is talking about only if you do one person. The end of the Mishnah says, and even if you do two persons, it still gets skila. Not only this, but even that. So even though you're right, the Mishnah sounds like it's only talking about one person, but the end of the Mishnah is talking about two people, so it's saying not only in the case of one person, but even in the case of two. When the Mishnah starts talking about one, it's not going to exclude two, just starting somewhere and then it's developing and saying not only this, but even that. That answers one of the questions. So the other question, that what about a Navi? So Rav Papa is going to answer that. Rav Papa says, Kikatani Macy's, when it says Macy's is a hedyot, what is it? When it says Macy's is a hedyot, we said that means not a prophet. It doesn't mean not a prophet. It means lachmana. It means for ambushing him. And we're calling him a hedyot because he's going to fall prey to an ambush. That's what we're calling. He's an ordinary person. I mean, he's a simpleton. He's a fool, basically. We're calling him a fool because of how we're trapping him. Tanya, it says in the Brisa, the rest of the death penalties in the Torah in Machin Aleim. We do not ambush them except for this. Ketzad Osin lo. What do we do? This is a police tactic, but they got it from here first. They have a house. In the inner room, there's candles. They put witnesses in the outer room that's all dark. So the people in the outer room can see the inside room. They can hear him. He can't see them. He'll see the outer room, and it'll look all dark, and he won't think there's anyone there. The other guy says to him, Emor say what you did to me privately. So Omerlo, he says to him, Omerlo, and the other guy says back, how can we abandon our God in heaven and serve idols? If he repents, mutav, great. He says, it's an obligation, this is good for us. People who are here on the outside, so the people on the outside, they bring the basin and they stone him. And we see we're calling him a hedyot because he's falling prey to this trick. Now, the next bit is part of what's called the chesronos hashas. It was removed by censors, so you may not have it in your Gemara. And it was removed by censors because it's kind of not politically correct, so to speak. So you may not have this in your Gemara, and I apologize if you don't. It says, V'chein asu, they did this is what they did to Ven Satda. This is what they did to the son of Sata, in Lud. This is how they trapped him. He tried to get people to worship idolatry, and they trapped him in this fashion. But Talu, they hanged him the Erev Pesach. Now, you might know of a famous person who was executed Erev Pesach. That's who we're talking about. We're asked, Ben Sata, his name, he's a son of Sata. Ben Pundirahu, he's a son of Pundira. Pundira was a Roman soldier. That's who his real father was. Amar of history says, no, Baal Sata, the husband's name was Sata. Boel Pandisa, but the one who had relations with his mother was Pandira. She committed adultery with this Roman soldier. That's why it's the so-called virgin birth, because she committed adultery. So it was not her husband. The husband was convinced it was a virgin birth, or something like that. Everyone says no. Baal, the husband's name is Pavas ben Yehudah. We know what the husband's name. The husband's Pavas ben Yehudah. It wasn't Sata either. So why are we calling him Ben Sata? That's not the father, or that's not the father, not the husband or the father. Ella, rather, Ema, you should say it, Emo Sata. His mother is Sata. His mother was Sata. The son of Sata, that's his mother. So no, we name him the mother also. Emo Miriam Nashaya is Miriam the hairdresser. Now it's interesting. In the Christian version of the story, Mary Magdalene means hair braider. Magadal Sir hair braider. So Mary Magdalene was not his mother, different Mary. But in the Gemara, it says that Mary Magadal Sir Nashaya, Miriam the hairdresser, was his mother. Ahavai. So his mother was Miriam. So it can't be. It's not that we eliminated all three people. There's the father. So there's a mother. There's the husband, and there's the actual father. None of them names are Sata. So I call him Ben Sata. And says Kidamrin we say in Pubdisa, Satas da mibal. Satas a contraction. It means this one straight from her husband. So the son of the adulteress is basically what we're calling him. So when it says Ben Sata, means the son of the adulteress. And he was executed, according to this, he was actually executed by Beis Din for getting people to worship idolatry on Erev Pesach. Okay, next Mishnah. Hamediach. Right, what is the Mediach? Omer, this is the one who says, let's go and worship idolatry. Hamachashif, what is a magician? We mentioned this yesterday. He does an action, he's liable. But not when it does trickery of the eyes. Rabbi Akiva Omer, Rabbi Akiva says, Shum Rabbi Shua, the name of Rabbi Shua, Shnayim, two people, Loktim Kishuim, are gathering gourds. Echad Lokit Pater, one of them is gathering and is exempt, he's not liable to that sentence. Echad Lokit Chayit, and one of them is gathering the gourds and is liable to that sentence. The one who doesn't actually physically uses the magic to gather them, make them move, he's chayiv. But someone who grabs the eyes, who use trickery, makes it seem like they've been gathered, but they're still in the same place, that would be exempt. Even though he's using magic still, not actually doing anything with the magic, just making people hallucinate or make an apparition appear, whatever it is exactly, but he is exempt. It says, Amar Rav Yehudah, Amar Rav, the first part says, the plural, what's going on here? It's talking about the people who get the city of refuge, the city as a whole to do of idolatry. That's what it says here, like we mentioned earlier today. That's the opinion of the rabbis, not the opinion of Rabbi Shimon. Now Kishuv. Hamachashev zeh osa ma'aseh. What is the Kishuv? Someone who does an action. Tanabon, the rabbis taught. Machasheva, a witch. Echon ish v'echon isha. What it makes it whether it's a man or a woman. Imkain of so matam lo machasheva. And why does it use a female? Everywhere else in Torah, for any other death penalty, when it's talking about someone who does it, it always uses the masculine. Why are this of all places does it use feminine? If you might think it's only women. No, it's not only women. So why does it say feminine? They should rove nashim that the majority of women, it sounds like it's saying the majority of women are found doing magic. It's very common. You could read it means the majority of people doing magic are women, but it sounds like the simple reading is that the majority of women do magic. It's just not such a nice thing. Misa said about that, what is it? What is the death sentence? Rabbi Yosef Galili says, Nemar kan mechashev lo. It says, do not let a witch live. We just read it yesterday. The Nemar Holland says later on, lo sechaya kol neshama. Do not let any soul live of the time of the Canaanite nations. When they come into the land of Israel, don't let a soul of the Canaanite nations live. Malahalam b'saif. What do we know about there? It's with a sword. Come in and conquer with a sword. Afkam b'saif. So to here, it's with a sword. It is beheading. Kiva Merkina says, Nemar kan mechashev lo sechaya. Do not let a witch live. Nemar Halan, elsewhere it says, by Har Sinai, it says a man or a woman will not live. Malaham skila. What do we know there but stoning? Because it says explicitly, it's stone them, throw rock, throw them off the mountain or throw rocks at them. Afkam skila. So to hear it skila, use the same word. Don't let them live. Rabbi Yosef says to him, hold on a second. Ani danti lo sechayim lo sechaya. The verse I quote, they both say lo sechaya, don't let them live. V'ata danta lo sechaya mi lo yichya. You judge, don't let them live, from he will not live. It's not the same word. Shilin like I'm doing because it's more parallel. Omalo Rabbi Kiva. Rabbi Kiva said to him, Ani danti yisrael Israel. I judge a Jew from a Jew. Why is that important? There's multiple options of a death sentence for a Jew. V'ata danti yisrael mi of dekachavim. But you're journeying out a Jew from a non-Jew. But for a non-Jew, there's only one death sentence, meaning no matter what crime a non-Jew commits, he gets beheaded. So of course he's gonna, if you learn it from a non-Jew, of course he's gonna say beheading. That's not, is not so meaningful because there's no variety of death sentences. But I'm learning from a case involving a Jew, and therefore the specific death sentence that we're comparing to makes more difference. But Ben says, no, that's not the source. It says someone who is a witch should not let live. But the next person, the verse right next to it is anyone who is with an animal will surely be put to death. Some Indian though, we put two seemingly unrelated topics next to each other to compare them. Just like someone who's with an animal, Baskila gets stoned, which we learn elsewhere. So too, someone who does magic, Baskila gets stoned. Amalo Rabbi Yehudah says to him, just because we juxtapose two unrelated topics, we're going to put someone in skila, we're going to stone someone. Ella, rather, how do we know that stone the witch? That the case of Ov and Yidoni we talked about yesterday, these Ov and Yidoni magicians, they're really included in magic. Baskila, to get, I skipped the line. For Lama Yatsu, why do we single them out and say that they get stoned? The Hakishlam, compare to them. But Lama I'll tell you, Ma Avi Yadoni Baskila, just like an Ov and Gedila are singled out to get skila, get stoned. Amechash Baskila, so too someone who does magic gets skila. Now they want to ask the Rabbi Yehudah, according to Rabbi Yehudah, Nami also, we have a question. They should be this concept of two verses that come as one. So we mentioned yesterday that there's a basic idea is that you have multiple cases that have the same ruling. We draw the circle that the most narrow circle that'll encompass both cases and say anything in that circle is included. Once you've had one case, or once you had a case that would establish a circle, then there's no reason to say something else in the same circle. Right? Because we already know it from the first case. So why would we add something else that's not needed? Then in a sense that very often that'll undermine the circle and say, no, don't draw a circle. You said the second case, say only these two cases, nothing else. So asking on Rabbi Yehudah, if I just said one case of either over Yudoni, which learn out, not exactly the same way we learned yesterday, but this is a Davar Yotzei Min HaKlal Alamed. Someone was singling out from part of a generalization to say anything in the whole category gets the same punishment, but we don't need two examples. One example is enough. Why does the Torah give us two examples of it? One example teaches about everything. So we don't need a second example. Why is it a second example? Let's go that tells you don't apply to the rest of the rule, but only in these two cases. So we would say therefore we don't have a teaching about the regular magic, only in these two cases. So Amar Rabbi Zachariah says, I skipped something. Anytime you have two verses that are coming to teach the same thing, Emelami cannot learn out from them to other places. So Amar Rabbi Zachariah says, Ada Amar, this teaches us, because Rabbi Yehudah says, no. When you have two, even though one's redundant, still you can learn out. Only when you have three that we say you can't learn out. When there's two, even though one's redundant, you can still learn out from them. That's what Rabbi Yehudah holds. Everyone else argues. That's the opinion of Rabbi Yehudah. Amar Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Yochanan says, Lama nikra shema keshafim. Why are they called keshafim? What is the language of keshafim? It's a portmanteau of shemachashivim pamalia shamala. Shemachishin palia pamalia shamala. It denies, it weakens the heavenly court. What does that mean? It means God has a certain will it's imposing on the world, and in a sense, the magic can overrule the angels that are imposing God's will on the world. As we'll see shortly in the next story, Kisha cannot actually oppose God's direct will. But generally, the way Hashem influences the world is that he sends messages to angels, gives them certain jobs, the angels send it to other angels, and it trickles down and gets into this world. Kishiv can sort of intercept somewhere on the way down and interfere with that and change what God has willed into the world.
An angel bureaucracy.
Yeah, so he can interfere with the angel bureaucracy, so to speak, and influence and change what's going to happen. Now, there's a concept called Ein Od Milvado. There's nothing besides him. There's nothing else besides Hashem. So this idea has the ability to overrule even that. So the famous stories about this, I think the most famous one is the rabbi called the Brisker Rav. He was trying to flee from, I think he's trying to flee from the Czars. He was trying to cross the border illegally to save his life. So his family focused on this concept of Ein Od Milvado. Think there's nothing but Hashem. Nobody has power over us. Only Hashem has power over us. And they're able to navigate their way through all the guard patrols and everything. At one point, someone turned to look at them and said, "Focus better," and they focused better. And then the guard turned away. And they were able to sneak through the border. So this idea of Ein Od Milvado, you say there's only Hashem. Nothing that Hashem does and will can happen. It gives you a direct line to Hashem and can save you. So it says this works even against magic. Even if someone tries to use magic against you, Ein Od Milvado can protect you. There's this woman, the woman wanted to take some dirt from under the feet of Rabbi Chanina. Apparently, if you take dirt from under someone's feet, you can use that dirt against them in magic. Amar Loi said, Zili Avidi, if you think it's going to work, go ahead and try it. Ein Od Milvado Ksiv. It says Ein Od Milvado. There's nothing but Hashem. Eating, is that so? From Rabbi Yochanan says, why are they called? It's called magic. Because they can weaken the heavenly court. The shining Rabbi Chanina did not fish Rusei. Rabbi Chanina is different. He's a lot of merit. He's able to trump that and connect directly to Hashem and be safe from this magic. Amar Rabbi Ivo bar Nagri, Amar Rabbi Chia bar Abba. So when he's talking about, when we've imagined Bilatehem, something says Bilatehem without a hay, Elam I say Shadim. That is using Shadim, using some kind of spirits to accomplish things. Bilatehem with a hay, Elam I say Shadim. That's actual magic. Chenu Omer, similar says, with the hay, that's talking about there's a sword guarding the entrance to the Garden of Eden. Used with a hay, That's Rashi. The way Rashi is, it appears to be spinning with magic. To spin it as if by magic, it's not shading involved, it's magic, therefore it's a egg. Omer Abaye. Abaye says the kapita mana, someone who needs a certain kind of vessel to do their magic, shade. That's when they're using. That's when they're getting a shade from the spirit of some form to accomplish it. The low kapita mana, the one is doesn't care which kind of vessel they're using. Geshavim. That's magic. Amar Abaye. Abaye says Hilchos Geshavim. The laws of magic. Hilchos Shabbos. They're like the laws of Shabbos. Yeshua and Beskila. Some of them get stoned. Yeshua and Patra Velasa. Some of them are exempt but are forbidden. Yeshua and Mutar Achila. Some of them are totally permitted. Osem Ma'isa. Someone does an action. Beskila. They get stoned. Someone who does trickery is Patra Velasa. Is exempt but still against the Torah. Mutar Achila. What's Mutar Achila? Like we mentioned yesterday. Like Rav Chanina and Rav Oshia. Like Rav Chanina and Rav Oshia. Kol Malay Shabbos. Shabbos every Erev Shabbos. They're learning Sefer Yetzirah. And they made either a third grown calf or a third born calf. They would eat it. Amar of Ashi. As it says, Chazina Leila Vua, the Karna. I saw the father of Karna, there's some kind of magician. The Nafitz, that I think he blew his nose. Shadi Kriik and Dishirai, and he had streams and streams of handkerchiefs coming out of his nose. The verse says, El Paro, the magician said to Paro, it's the finger of God. Amar Eliezer, Mikan, from here we see, a shade, a spirit cannot create something less than the size of a barley corn. Talking about the plague of lice. Say, no, this is from God. This is not a magic. This is not magic. This is God. Why? Because lice are smaller than a barley corn. And therefore, they tried to do with the magic, it didn't work. They said it must be God doing it. Can't create something smaller than a barley corn. Papa remember says, no, Halokim, by Hashem, I swear, even something larger like a camel, it can't create. Rather, what is it? What's the difference here? That you get a shade to bring something larger, can't get something to shade to bring something smaller than a barley corn. Amalei Rav Rabbi Chia. Rav said to Rabbi Chia, "Ladidi chazi li hahu taya." I saw this Arab traveler, or just a traveler, Shagli Zelevsira, that he took a sword, the guided the gamla, v'tavle b'tavla. He dismembered his camel, tavle, and he shook a bell at it. The Khan got up. Amalei said to him, afterwards, did you see blood and guts sitting on the floor? If he really dismembered his animal and brought it back to life, you should see at least some vestige of it, blood and guts on the floor. Ella, that was just trick of the eye. And you have a fun story. Ziri Ikla Alexandria Shel Mitzrayim. Ziri, actually, next one's a really fun story. Ziri got to Alexandria of Egypt. Zavan Chamra, he bought a donkey. Imata lashkuyamai, when he went to feed it water, Pasher dissolved, a kam gamla duskina, the camel turned into a board. Amrulay said to him, he said, went back to the seller, the merchant, to complain and get his money back. Amrulay, they said to him, Ilav zira'at, if you hadn't been Ziri, a great rabbi, lo hava mahadrin lach, I wouldn't give a refund. Mi'ika, the zavan midi hacha, is there anyone who buys something here, and doesn't check with water first, meaning that it's so common to have magic-based forgeries that let the buyer beware. Don't buy anything in Alexandria without first checking if it dissolves in water. Now we have a fun story. Yanai, a guy named Yanai, not Rabbi Yanai, just Yanai. Iklalahu Ashbiz, he went to a certain hotel. Amlahu, he said, Ashkai and Maya, give me a cup of water. Karivu, Shasisa, they brought him this Shasisa to drink. She said some kind of beverage. Flour mixed with water, thank you. He saw the hostess that she was whispering at the cup. He spilled a little bit on the ground. Haviek Ravi, it turned into scorpions. So Amalu, he said to them, I drank your thing. Why don't you have a drink of my beverage? Ashkea. So he had the hostess drink his drink. Havachamer, she turned into a donkey. Rakva, he rode on her. Saleh Shuka, went out to the market or to the street, the market. Asa Chaverta, her friend came over. Pashule dissolved the magic. Chazia turned out Derachi Vakoya Itza B'Shuka, and it turns out he's riding on a woman in the market. And why don't we stop there? Obviously, that was not permitted. He also did something wrong. That's how we know it's not Rebbe Yanai, because you're not allowed to do magic and turn women into donkeys. So just because a woman annoys you, don't turn her into a donkey. Okay. Have a wonderful day.
I get a great day.